Hello, my name's Nathan from the Big Story Trust, and earlier this week I caught up with Greg Phillips from America, and he spoke to me about his life in magic and how he became a gospel performer and how he's been doing it for over 20 years. Let's catch up with him now.
Good to see you, Greg.
You as well. Pleasure to meet you.
Thanks for letting me kind of catch up and talk to you a little bit.
Not a problem.
So, Greg, for people that don't know you, tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do.
I've been a gospel performer for almost 30 years.
Wow.
Performed at several Fellowship of Christian Magician conventions a number of years ago. Met my best friend Randy Christensen there as we shared a dressing room in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Children's pastor for 25 years on staff, and then back on the road full-time 5 years ago.
Oh.
So I've traveled the whole time performing camps and things.
Yeah.
But have just gone full-time again 5 years ago.
Oh, excellent. And what got you involved in the first place, Greg, with doing gospel magic?
Well, I was a nightclub performer that fell off a stage and broke my neck.
Oh, wow.
Got saved in the midst of that, and told the Lord if he fixed me, I would do whatever he wanted me to do as long as I didn't have to work with kids. And shortly became a children's pastor after that.
Oh, wow. And how did you find using gospel magic and illusions within the context of children's ministry?
In the beginning, because of where I was, there was resistance. And the church that I was at asked if I would lay down the magic and just be a good children's worker. And being a new Christian, I prayed. I said, Lord, if you want me to set this magic aside, which I've been doing since I was 7, I'll do that if that's what you want. I want to be a good follower. And I believe I heard, as I prayed, God say, I never asked you to lay it down, and I didn't ask you to go to this church either. So we went to a different place that was more receptive, and I think it's been great ever since.
Oh, wonderful. And so, what's really interesting for me, Greg, is that you started life as a magician, as a secular performer, a cabaret artist, and then moved into gospel magic. If you was to step back and reflect on both experiences, kind of how's the magic changed, the performance changed? What things have you brought into gospel magic that you learnt doing cabaret magic and things like that? But what things have you got rid of?
There were 3 things that I've always wanted to do since I was 17. I wanted to travel the world. I wanted my magic to mean something. And I wanted to make lots of people laugh, smile, be entertained. When I fell, broke my neck, and got saved, I still wanted those same things. However, the fame and the notoriety changed a little bit to being more effective in making Christ known rather than myself. I still get to travel. I still get to affect lots of people. And I believe my magic means something. So in that realm, nothing really changed. As far as the effects, I've always been a storyteller. I've always been one to elaborate rather than just be real quick. Although there's a time for quick tricks, I really like to set the stage and make it mean something. Yeah. So in that part, nothing changed, but the way some of the effects worked. I didn't want to be as magic-y looking or as gimmicky looking. I wanted it to be even more natural than before. So, hope that answers your question.
No, it does. And when you think around creating a show or putting a presentation together, how do you go about that process?
In the early days, when I first started doing it, I tried to pick a theme and develop the theme. Bible verse, illustrations, wrap it up. When I became a children's pastor and had to do a new one every week, then I had to bring in lots of other elements with puppets and ventriloquism, object lessons, building a team. And so I felt more like a ringmaster of a circus. And so I was able to bring in lots of other people, their skills, their talents. And now on the road full-time again, 5 years, it's broadened what I do. I don't stay focused on just being in that magic box. I try to present lots of stuff. So it's more of a three-ring circus kind of performance without being circusy.
Yeah. And when you think around what you've just said, you kind of have gospel magic, you have object lessons, and lots of other things. How do you decide what one to do when?
Well, at my age, doing this since I was, 7 years old, I'm 57 now.
Wow.
So after 50 years of putting things together, I've got a pretty good ability to discern what folks will like and won't like. However, in the last few years, audiences changed dramatically. And so I'm having to put things out there more, trying them a little bit more, and seeing what I need to rough up a little bit or to shape up a little bit to make it fit better. And then if it just doesn't work at all, jettison it.
Yeah. And you've been doing it 50 years.
Yeah.
What are some of the key lessons that you've learned in those 50 years that you would like to share with people, Greg?
Be natural, be honest, be fun, and let the audience know that you love them more than you love your performance.
Wow.
If they see your heart coming through, the performance is going to go well, because people want to see you succeed. They want you to be successful. So even if a performance isn't going as well as maybe you've planned, if you show the folks that you care, that you love them, and you want what's best for them, they'll put up with just about anything.
And how have those principles shaped what you actually do on stage?
I used to be a jerk on stage. When things didn't go right, I blamed everybody else. Sound, lights, technicians, assistants. When I got saved, I really found out that it was about what was coming from me, coming from my heart. Now, I don't take myself so seriously. I really want to enjoy what I'm doing, and I really want to stick by what I wanted from the time I was young. I wanted to travel, meet lots of people, wanted my magic to mean something. And so that means I have to kind of let the air out of my own balloon. I have to be a little more humble. I have to not take myself so seriously in so much of what I present, even though I take preparation very seriously, Bible study very seriously. I put everything in ahead of time and then figure God's going to help me bring out what he wants brought out. But I won't hear that if I'm only listening to my own stuff.
Yeah.
I want to be pliable and open to what God's wanting to do.
And picking up a little bit on that theme, Greg, how has your theology or understanding of the Bible influenced the selection of tricks and how you actually perform things on stage?
One of my first performances, I did a simple chair suspension in a church. Afterwards, people were all aghast. They were upset. The pastor came to me and he was really uptight that I would present something like that in that type of an environment. I thought about what I did. I watched the videotape. I didn't believe that I did anything wrong. I didn't make it look like it was magical. It was just a fun piece. But from that, I've learned everybody has their own opinion about what they're going to see. And so sometimes I would set aside a trick that I would really want to do for something that was maybe a little easier for an audience member to understand or even figure out. Sometimes, if an audience member catches me doing something, then it kind of lets them know that it's just for fun.
Yeah.
If I try to fool them too seriously, then they have trouble dividing, is this real or is this just a trick?
Yeah.
And so sometimes in my program, I may stay away from things that are really mind-blowing and go with something where they can go, I know how that's done. I can figure that out, because it lets them breathe a little bit. I see so many gospel performers at times that think that they have to be so magical that the audience can't make that split between what's real and what isn't. And so I think we have to be careful about that. So I do some mind-boggling tricks, but I preface it and set them up ahead of time saying, look, I'm going to fool you badly with this. This is going to make your mind explode. Like me, it may make you lose your hair, but it's trick, only a trick.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you that now because I want you to be ready. That does a couple things. It gives me a running bit throughout the show. It prepares them and keeps them watching everything else. So by the time I get to it, they're on the edge of their seat. So it works well in that context because it helps tie the whole show together.
I think by the sounds of it, it does two things. It sets it up magically and sets the expectation, but it sets it up spiritually as well to actually get the fact that it's an illusion. One of the thoughts, Greg, that I've been thinking around when it comes to magic and gospel performance is that magic can be very binary. It can be very concrete.
Correct.
But life isn't necessarily concrete. So when we start giving life messages in using magic, we can sometimes be forced into a very clean-cut way of presenting stuff.
Right.
Which I've always found uncomfortable. A good example is the torn and restored heart illusion. I'm sure that you're familiar with it. That actually we start with a perfect heart, we rip it up, and then we restore it to perfection again. Where my experience in life and my understanding of the scriptures as well is that actually that full restoration doesn't happen until we get to heaven. And actually God does restore our heart, but it still has wrinkles in it, if that makes sense.
Right.
And it's kind of, how can we be real with people using tricks?
I will tell you how I do my heart illusion. It's based on an old Kevin James idea that he wrote about years ago with a torn and restored newspaper. In the restoration part, one piece is dropped. As the heart is restored, there's a hole in the middle of it. And so I look on the floor, realize I've dropped a piece, talk about how we are a work in progress, pick the piece up, it is crumpled, so when I rub it into the center of the heart, it's now restored, but it's still crinkled. So I talk about how we are a work in progress. So taking the perfect heart illusion, but taking it away from the too perfect concept.
Wonderful.
So,
and Greg, I've done a bit of reading up on you, and your life seems to be, if I may suggest, punctuated by some profound health issues as well. You've already spoken about nearly breaking your neck and that leading you to become a Christian. And then later on, I think you've had some issues with your heart as well. Have those things shaped you as a person, shaped your faith, and shaped your performance?
Well, I am a person who believes Scripture completely and fully because it's truly all I've got. I'm celebrating my 13th anniversary of the doctors giving me 6 months to live. So they told me to stay in bed, to rest, to take it easy. But as the family and I prayed about it, discussed it, God told me to go, that He was the great physician, and that when I go, when I work, when I perform, the anointing is such, it breaks all yokes. That doesn't mean that I don't have bad days.
No.
That doesn't mean that I don't stay in bed some days. Those days I lay and I pray. But the rest of the time, God's been faithful. God's been wonderful in that I'm still creating, still performing. This summer was 11,000 miles, 16 states, over 130 programs.
Wow.
So I think God's true to His word. So I'll do what I do. Let Him do what He does.
Amen to that.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
And Greg, what advice would you give to people out there doing gospel magic?
Oh, goodness. Know the word. Know the Bible first. Then grab a couple of the Tarbell spiritual application books and read through those. Then take some time and let God speak to you. I think first and foremost, He will hit your creative button so that things begin to pop. Put together a simple gospel program, maybe using some of the effects that are already out there. At the end of the program, write down everything that God revealed to you in the midst of doing the program. He'll show you a better way to do this or adjust how He wants you to do that. Then those tricks will become yours. The heart that you have will come through those things. And so even in pre-prepared tricks, God will speak through you, through them, using your input, because what you put in is what's going to come out. Don't be just a repetition of somebody else, but be the creative, unique person that God made you to be. Even if you have to start with basic stuff that other people did, listen, pray, let God speak to you through it.
Oh, Greg, that's really good to hear. And thank you ever so much for taking the time out today to speak with me. It's been a real privilege, and may God bless you. Cheers.
You as well. Thank you so much. Lord bless you.